So, hi guys, Muskan Agarwal here again. It's been a long time since we discussed any topic, so I'm here there with another topic, authentication and authorization. So, let's discuss about authentication and authorization. We discussed already about encryption, we discussed about encoding, hashing, how exactly communication works between the client and server, and you would have got a good idea about the client server communication. So these communications are through a protocol, through the REST APIs, through the gRPC, or through some method. So there are generally pinging of an IP address or the server. Then there is HTTPS request. REST API means HTTPS request. gRPC, these are like a recently introduced remote procedural calls which are actually very fast. So as of now, we will just focus on the HTTPS because every organization, every system as of now uses HTTPS request between the client and the server. Why? And why it is known to be the most secure, and it is more secure than HTTP because as we discussed in our last videos about the TLS SSL, about the encryption, HTTPS uses all of these: TLS SSL, security level, and the encryption. So generally companies or organizations do not add another level of encryption. They rely on HTTPS as the most secure form, as it already uses encryption. So the authentication authorization comes after all this. Now, as you know, like people generally do get confused between these three terms: authentication, authorization, and encryption. These three are completely different. Authentication is the first level, authorization is the second level when you are trying to access any app or any site. Right. So let's start with an example. Now, there isn't any app or website. You're trying to access it first time. You have downloaded it or you have got any website link and you're trying to access it. Nowadays, every system asks you to sign up to their server, right? So you get the sign up dialog box and it asks certain details like the email, the username, the password, and the phone number, and etc. etc. So they get some details from you and they check into their database that okay, this is the user trying to log into your system, to the server, and they'll check that if this email existed in their database, if the username exists in their database or not. If so, they'll give you the error that a username already exists or email already exists or user already exists, something like that, right? Now, if not, they'll create an entry, user entry into their database with the information you are providing them. So next time you are trying to sign in, they'll validate your identity. That is the whole process of authentication. Now you have signed up to any server. I'm calling an app or a website as a server here, right? You're signed up. Now the next time you are trying to sign in, right? So sign in, you just input username or email and you are just giving password. So server will go to the database, it will send a validation request to their database, and they'll see that okay, if this username exists, if the username or email you are giving, it exists in their database, they'll see okay, and then they'll check for the password you are giving them and the database holds. If they are matching, they will let you sign in. Otherwise they'll give you the error, invalid username or password, something like that. Right, so this is the exact flow of how authentication works. This is how server authenticates you with your credentials. Now this is done. Now comes the authorization. So what is authorization? Authorization is the limit on your access to this system, to this server. You can't access all their features, right? You can't just directly access their database, you can't just access their admin features, like you can't just do any changes on their system. So that is being controlled using the authorization. So authorization is an important factor. Like I am the client, I'm trying to access anything on your server, I can't just go and make changes on your server. I am not having that access. That access is controlled by the token which is generated when you sign in. So let's get back to our signing thing. So once you are signed in, you're authenticated from the server end. So you are the client, let's take it this way. Server is any mobile app or website, right? You sent a sign-in request. Okay, you sent a sign-in request to the server with all your creds. Got it. You sent a sign-in request to your server, to the server with your creds. Server will authenticate or validate you. Server validates or authenticates you, right? And then it once after the validation or authentication, it sends a response back to you with your data that you are either signed in, you are on the home page, or you are some page which they redirect to by default, right? So they give you a response. In this response, they carries or they send you a token which is known as the authorization token, right? It is known as the authorization token that server sends to you in the response. That tokens, what the server is trying to communicate to you through this token is that now with each and every request, you have to contain this token in order to access any page, in order to access the page or feature on the server, on the mobile app or the website. Without that, you won't be able to access, right? So this is how generally all the systems work today. This is to differentiate between the level of access people has. Like I can't, or means a user can't access another user details, but an admin person can access all the user details, can do anything. It can remove any user or create a user or anything, but I can't do that. I'm just a user of that particular server. So that level of differentiation is done through this token, authorization token. I am not authorized to do what admin can do, right? So this authorization token plays an important role. This authorization token is generated through the server. It is sent to us, and we have to get this token in each request, so that with every request, server will authorize us. Okay, this user is authorized to see this page, so let him see this. Understood? So authorization token is generally in request headers, right? The request headers hold this, like we headers में बहुत सारी चीजें होती है ना, कि we have this content type and we have the client ID, the user the client and everything. So along with that, we have this basic authentication token also, and the body has its user ID and other parameters. Major validation is done on the authorization token itself. Now I hope you understood what is authorization token, how it's playing an important role over here in order to limit your access to their system, right? Now next it is there in the request headers. When server gets your request, it decrypts your request, as we studied in the last video. If not, please go through it. It decrypts your request with the key which they have, and then they take out the headers. It take your token, it validates into the database that okay, this token is there associated to this user, let him access the page on the app or the website, something. This is the exact flow of encryption, authentication, authorization. Now there are some limitations of this authentication token. I'll just take it as the auth token. Okay, like generally as of now, all the systems rely on JWT tokens, if you might have heard of. Every I think most of the interviews do ask at least one question about JWT tokens in the design interviews. We'll go through them in the next video, but as of now, you just understand that authorization tokens are the JWT tokens. So auth tokens have certain limitations. That first of all, what should be the expiry of these tokens? Where should they be stored, on the user end or on the server end? Okay, and how this expiry is maintained and everything. So these are the major limitations of the authorization token. Is this expiry as well as the storage. Expiry is like if you keep the expiry period of this tokens to an extended period, to a large period of time, right? So this could arise, like result in a security vulnerability, but you can't do this. And if you keep the expiry of these tokens to a very small period, like an hour or something, so it will hinder your user experience. User will be frustrated if every hour or if every day they have to sign into your system. It's a kind of frustrating experience of all the users. So that is the expiry thing. Neither you can't keep an extended period or nor you can keep a smaller period. So you have to decide something. So in that case, there is another concept of refresh tokens. So as we studied in the last, as we discussed in the last videos, there is a concept of private key pair. That is a pair, private and public key, private public key pair, right? Similarly, here comes a pair of auth token, that is a main token, and there is a refresh token. So when the client sends a request to the server, it validates it, it authenticates the client request and sends a response with the tokens. These are the two tokens which it sends in the response, that is the authorization token and the refresh token. So what happens is we change the expiry time of refresh token, right? So refresh token expiry is kept around 10 days or so, 10 to 15 days something, and once that expiry is done, once that expiry is achieved, auth token is replaced by the refresh token and a new refresh token is generated. So as of now, I communicated with the system, I sent a request, it got me to auth token, refresh token. After 10 days or so, the main token will be replaced by the secondary, that is the refresh token, and another new refresh token will be generated. And now again I will have the pair as auth token as well as refresh token. So in this case, even if someone attacks your system, or even if someone gets into your system, they'll get the auth token for certain period, like it will be automatically replaced by the refresh token. And if we see that there is any security vulnerability, we can quickly change the auth token by sending another refresh token. So this helps this helps to make the system secure, although there are some limitations to it as well, but it's the most secure form as of now. Stored, they are generally stored in, for the websites, in the cookies or the browser cache, or otherwise they'll be stored in, yeah. So this will be stored in the memory cache, in case of the app. So this is done and it's being cleared. Yeah, after some times or so, user will be logged out, the token will be cleared, it is deleted from the client end as well as from the server end. So this is how auth token actually works. We have discussed about authentication, authorization. Authentication is during the login, sign in. It's a first level. Authorization, it continues till the user or the client is communicating with the server. Then comes the encryption. With each request, the encryption goes on, server decrypts it, encrypts it, sends again within the response. So this is how exactly, this is a complete flow. I have covered everything: encryption, encoding, hashing, authentication, authorization. So this is the complete flow of how communication happens between client as well as the server. I hope you understood. I think in the next video I'll come up with an example what exactly happens in the back end of the server when you make a request to the server. We have understood as of now just the communication part. I hope you understood the video. If you have any comments, please drop it into the comment box. Thank you.